Is Disney Vacation Club worth it in 2023? And is it right for you? I'm going to help you answer that question today by doing the math for you and making sure that you don't make some critical mistakes when figuring out the fully loaded cost of a Disney Vacation Club contract. I'm also going to help you with comparatives. So we're going to compare home resorts as well as buying direct with Disney versus on the resale market. And then what we're also going to do is compare the cost of Disney Vacation Club to just booking a regular reservation for a Disney World hotel room. Welcome to my spreadsheet. Don't be alarmed. I'm going to take you through it step by step. I'm actually a Disney Vacation Club member. I've got both a direct and a resale contract, and I'm also an accountant. So this is my forte. And as much as Disney pulls on our heartstrings when it comes to spending money in the parks and at the resorts, this is a financial decision. Just for a little sprinkle of background information, Disney Vacation Club essentially works like a timeshare, except you purchase points and then you exchange those points for reservations at your Disney World or other Disney resort hotel. We're going to kick off our analysis by dropping in the direct cost per point for Disney Vacation Clubs. This means purchasing it directly from Disney. Now, we're going to go to the Disney Vacation Club website. When we get there, we'll see that there are actually 3 resorts that are advertised here with prices. And that's because these 3 resorts are the resorts that are actively on sale with Disney Vacation Club. That means they have inventory for these resorts and they're selling them right now, and you can just go direct to Disney and purchase these and it'll be a pretty smooth process. Now, if you're looking for another resort that isn't actively selling, Disney will have to actually purchase a contract back from a current Disney Vacation Club member and essentially resell it to you. However, it's structured as a direct contract, not as a resale contract. As we can see from this website, the cost per point is $217. You can see 150 vacation points times $217, and we have a cost price here of $32,550. Now, I'm just going to take this base cost, so I'm not going to include closing costs. They will be different depending on whether you purchase direct with Disney or with a reseller, but for comparative purposes, we're just going to use the base cost. So let's plug that 217 into our spreadsheet here. We can put it in for Aulani, for Grand Floridian, and for Riviera. Now, for the contracts that are not advertised on the Disney Vacation Club website, you actually have to reach out to Disney directly, and you'll then get matched with like a sales agent who will help you and provide you with pricing and stuff. But the pricing doesn't tend to fluctuate very often. It tends to be like once a year and a half, that sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually pull it from a website that has the information updated as of sort of end of March. This is dvcnews.com. So I'm going to just scroll down and I'm going to plug in the rest of the value. So we can see Disney's Animal Kingdom Villas is $210. Now, there will be some offers on at different times of the year. They actually have some offers on right now. At the $150 mark, they have offers on these actively on sale resorts, those 3, Aulani, Riviera, and the Grand Floridian. And then for the other contracts, the ones that aren't actively on sale, they have some offers on if you're willing to buy 200 points or more. We're going to use a 150 point contract as our base for comparison, and that's because that is currently the minimum that you can purchase direct with Disney. One of the good things, I guess, about it right now is that that minimum contract will also get you your benefits, the benefits that come with that direct contract. Previously, they had a lower minimum limit, but then the minimum for the benefits was higher, and it was just a little bit more confusing. Let's jump over and take a very quick look at the benefits of purchasing direct with Disney versus resale, because we're about to see quite a price difference between the two, and so it's good to just understand why someone would choose to go direct with Disney when it is more expensive. Now, there is a full list here on the Disney Vacation Club website. I feel like some of these benefits are really good. Some of them I don't see myself using, like I don't intend to convert points for Disney Cruise Line or Adventures by Disney. I don't feel like it's the best use of your points. I don't think you get the best value for your points that way. But there are some other things like the exclusive member events that I've really enjoyed. There are member cruises, they look pretty cool. There are dining discounts and shopping discounts, although I do find that those discounts are very similar to what you get with an annual pass. The discounts on theme park tickets are really good, especially if you want to get an annual pass. So that's a saving that I take into account. And the member lounges are nice. So yeah, I think it's just good to have a look through and just think about whether or not you feel like these benefits would really work for you. Just keeping in mind that obviously they come at a premium if you're buying direct with Disney, and you are also subject to that 150 point minimum now if you do purchase direct with Disney. All right, we've got our direct cost per point in, and you can see there's quite a variance between the different resorts. Now, one thing that I feel like a lot of people make a mistake with when they're looking at Disney Vacation Club is that they just consider this cost. This is only one element of your cost, and there are three very key elements, all equally as important as each other, that you need to consider. So this is element one, but in isolation, it's not the full picture. Let's now plug in the cost to purchase resale. So resale is via a resale vendor. It's basically like an agency, I guess, that brings together the buyer and the seller. So Disney is not involved in this transaction, although they can actually come in and poach the contract if they fancy it for themselves. I've come to the DVC resale market website, and I'm actually going to go into their blog. This is the best way to get a more accurate representation of actual cost of resale contracts versus just looking at listings. And this is actually the same vendor that I used for my resale contract, but there are really good ones out there. I'm not affiliated with anything, just do your own research and find a company that you're happy with. So let's just scroll down, and yes, this is what we're looking for. DVC resale average sales prices for March 2023, and they'll update this again next month for April, etc, etc. So you can just pop in here and get the most up-to-date information. Okay, I'm just going to scroll down, and then we have our prices here. Some good news, the market is actually looking really good for buyers right now. Prices look like they're the cheapest they've been in 12 months for almost all resorts, which again, it's just really good news if you're actually looking to purchase on the resale market. The resale market will fluctuate so much more than direct with Disney because it is dependent on supply and demand. So it's dependent on the price that the buyers are actually willing to pay, as well as obviously the supply from sellers. That is different to Disney, where, like I say, they don't tend to fluctuate the prices too much. What they will do is come in with different offers every now and then, and they'll have expiry dates on those offers and stuff, but definitely much bigger swings in the resale market. So it's good to keep an eye on it and to really wait it out if you can for a price drop if you don't feel like prices are good at the moment. But definitely looks like now is actually pretty good time. So let's take Animal Kingdom, for example. We have 116. We'll drop that in there. And straight away you can see the huge difference between purchasing direct with Disney versus resale. I've just jumped in there and populated the rest of the resale prices, and now we can see the percentage discount that we're getting if we're willing to go to the resale market. So 45% at Animal Kingdom Lodge, 60% at Vero Beach, down a bit lower at Grand Californian. It's so expensive, 20%, but it's just so popular, hence why you just don't really see much of a discount, and hence why the prices are so high. And then what I've done is I've added 150 points as our calculation. You can obviously change this if you want to purchase a different size contract. And then I've calculated, this is automatically calculated then for the two contracts. So direct and resale, we've taken that cost per point and just multiplied it by the 150. So if I was to get an Animal Kingdom Lodge contract at 150 points direct with Disney, I'm going to pay $31,500. If I get it on the resale market, based on the average prices in March, I'm going to pay $17,400. So quite a difference, quite a big difference. And then you can see big fluctuations as well between resorts. So the same number of points at Vero Beach is only 9,000. So let's just take this moment in time to emphasize how important it is to pick the right home resort. Cost is the first element, that like direct cost per point versus the resale cost per point, and then comparing that between the different resorts. But you have to pick a home resort that you're happy to stay at and that you intend to stay at to such an extent that you can actually utilize those points within any given year, or, you know, bank them and use them every 2 years, whichever way you want to do it. Don't buy a resort because it's cheaper thinking that you can just use those points for another resort once that window opens up. The way the home resort works is at 11 months out from your vacation date, you can book your home resort only. If I've got Animal Kingdom Lodge, at 11 months out, I can book Animal Kingdom Lodge. Then when we get to the next window at 7 months, I can actually use my points and I can book any other resort that I want to book. I can only book them if they're available, and availability is definitely not guaranteed. So I always have to be in a position when I make a reservation that I'm happy if I end up at my home resort, but if I do have a preference for somewhere else, at 7 months, I'll try and get it. But if I don't get it, I'm still happy to stay at my home resort. So please keep that into consideration, because I have heard of people buying contracts at like Vero Beach or Hilton Head when they actually don't intend to go there every year or every 2 years. They actually want to go to Walt Disney World. And so they've kind of put themselves at a bit of a disadvantage, and they might have had a price saving, but really are they actually getting the best out of their contract when it comes to that 7 month mark and the kind of rooms they really want aren't available. The second element of cost, and one that I do think gets forgotten about, is the annual dues. So every single year of your contract, you have to pay annual dues, and they are different depending on what resort you're staying in. They're also calculated per point. So the more points you have, the more annual dues you're going to pay. This works kind of like a service fee, I guess, like a maintenance fee. And so, like I say, different resorts have different service fees for obvious reasons, like Vero Beach. It's a seaside resort. It's going to have more wear and tear. Animal Kingdom Lodge, we have animals to look after. I don't know, Riviera has a Skyliner. There's like certain things that will mean that the maintenance costs are higher or lower at different resorts. So it's really important to take that into consideration. What I'm going to do is just take the 2023 annual dues costs and just load them in here so that we can get an idea for what like a fully loaded contract would cost us. DVC Resale Market actually have really good data points, so hence why I love using their site. Oftentimes you'll find them in the blogs. They'll just post like updated bits of information like this. So this is the Disney Vacation Club dues for 2023. Now we're not going to add in like compounded growth or anything like that. We're going to do a very simplistic calculation, and I'm just going to drop these 2023 dues in. So let's take $881 for Animal Kingdom Lodge as an example. That means for a 150 point contract, I'm going to pay $1,321.50 on an annual basis based on those 2023 prices. Okay, let's just look at Animal Kingdom Lodge across the board and then we'll populate the others. So for Animal Kingdom Lodge, it's $210 to purchase direct. It's $116 to purchase resale. So 45% saving. For a 150 point contract, I'm going to pay $31,500 for my direct contract. For resale, $17,400. And then on top of that, I'm going to pay an annual fee, which is calculated at $8.81 per point. And that's the same for resale and direct. So annual dues, the same regardless of how you got your contract. And that's $1,321.50. Okay, it's in now for all resorts, and you can actually see there is again quite a big swing from resorts. Vero Beach, as we expected, quite high because it's obviously got a lot of maintenance. Whereas a low one, we've got Copper Creek is quite low, Grand Floridian is quite low. So yeah, it's just another element of cost that we really want to make sure we consider, especially if you've got a really long contract. This is a fee you have to pay every single year for your contract. So let's talk about contract duration. You can see in column J here, I've calculated years left, and that's because every contract has a set end date. So at the end of that contract, it's done, you're complete. So you no longer have your Vacation Club contract. Now they may offer extensions. They've done that with Old Key West. And actually, if you're looking at the resale market, you need to be mindful that some contracts expire in 2057 and some expire in 2042. If you're going direct with Disney, you don't need to worry about that. So if we look at the contract end date, we can see now the years left on each of the resorts. And it's the same, this is standard. This isn't like person by person. This is the standard contract end date for these resorts. And so Animal Kingdom Lodge has 34 years left. Aulani has 39. Obviously the newer resorts are going to have longer. But then somewhere like Beach Club only has 19 years left. And yeah, let's see, Riviera 47. So Riviera is obviously the newest resort. It's got the longest contract length. And so I've used that then to calculate the total contract cost. So that is your initial cost per point, element 1, plus your annual dues, element 2, and then we've got our fully loaded contract cost. This is how much, based on current day prices, you're going to pay for the whole entirety of your contract. Now, again, we're going to see some swings, like we're going to see Riviera being quite expensive, but that's because it's valid until 2070, right? So to bring it back to sort of a cost per year so we can compare the resorts, I've just divided that then down by the number of years left in the contract. So this is like, how much does your contract cost on an annualized basis? Just to give you a comparison, because this now is fully loaded with your annual dues as well as your upfront costs. So it's just giving you that bit more wholesome picture of the two elements. We're still missing an element. So looking at that total cost, we're again seeing some fluctuations. Boardwalk is up at $3,174, Beach Club 3,396. Beach Club is actually one of the most expensive, and that is because Beach Club is expensive given that it only has 19 years left. Okay, so that's why fully loading the cost and calculating it per year just adds an extra element that you may not have considered. Column N brings in an additional data point. Now, what I've done here is I've actually used Dave's Vacation Club rental page. They have a cost calculator in here that I absolutely love. If you just go into DVC Guest cost calculator, you can then just plug in some dates. I've just picked 2 random weeks in September because that's when I like to travel. And then what I've done is clicked display points so that I can see the number of points required as opposed to like the cost to rent, because this is actually a rental site, completely separate topic. I can do a separate video on that if you're interested in Vacation Club rental. But then what I've done is taken a standard studio and compared it across the board. So let's have a look at Animal Kingdom is $152 for a standard view room. They actually do have a value room, but it's very hard to get. So I'm not including that. I'm trying to compare like apples with apples here. So we've got a standard view room, 152. Bay Lake Tower, standard view room, same dates, 194 points. Okay. Beach Club, 200 points. 200 points versus 152 at Animal Kingdom Lodge. So hopefully this demonstrates the third element of cost, which is that for your resort, you also need to understand how many nights and how much time do you get with 150 points at your resort, because it's not equal. Let's jump back into the spreadsheet to illustrate this. Animal Kingdom Lodge, here we go, 152 points. Ulani, 224 points for the same 2-week period. Riviera, 208 points. Grand Californian, 258 points. So now that 150 point contract, we're now seeing that translate to an actual reservation, to an actual 2-week reservation in a standard studio. Now, for your own personal circumstances, you obviously want to look at the time of year that you would normally travel or like to travel and the category of room. You might want a 2-bed, you might want to stay in December, and obviously depending on how busy the month is, the points are going to be higher and lower. So it kind of works very similarly to cash prices in that it's going to be cheaper to go when less people are going. It's going to be more expensive to go when more people are going, right? I've actually just updated the formula there because I noticed an error. So what I've done here is I've taken the number of points required for a 2-week stay in a standard studio, or whatever the standard view accommodation is, which is generally like a room with either 2 beds or a bed and a sofa bed or a pull down bed. So like kind of your standard room that you could fit like 4 people in. You've got 2 people in each bed. And I've compared that across every resort, and I've calculated it, taking the number of points needed for that 2-week stay, multiplying it by the cost per point, as well as the annual dues for having that number of points required for the 2-week stay. Are you still with me? I hope so. So let me explain this for Animal Kingdom Lodge. It's going to cost $2,277.94 per year for every year of my contract to have 2 weeks with a direct contract with Disney in September. If I were to go resale and stay for the same 2 weeks over the whole period of my contract, I'd pay $1,857.71 a year for 34 years. Now let's look at my good old favorite, Beach Club. So Beach Club comes in at $4,528.74 direct with Disney every year for 19 years to go for 2 weeks. So just going back to that direct cost per point right at the start, it was $210 for Animal Kingdom Lodge, and it was $275 for Beach Club. So yes, Beach Club is more expensive, but what I don't think is appreciated when you just look at that up front, which is the prices that you'll see if you're looking at this with direct with Disney, is what that actually means in terms of pricing up a vacation for 2 weeks. And when we actually price it up, we see that it's pretty much double. It's double the price to go with Beach Club over Animal Kingdom Lodge. Same goes for Hilton Head. Hilton Head kind of looks like a good deal when you look at it from the outset, but if you actually intend to stay at Hilton Head, $4,504 per year, because those annual dues are high and because the number of points required to stay there for 2 weeks is really high. I know you guys might have some questions as I'm going through this. Please just drop them in the comments down below. I'm more than happy to do more in-depth videos on different elements. I'm trying my best just to keep it high level, but also giving you all the detail I feel like you really need to make this decision. So let's then look at resale. We can see some big swings between resale and direct. I think a good example would be Vero Beach, like $3,400 versus $2,600. Now, what actually happens here when we incorporate annual dues is that you kind of dilute the difference between direct and resale. You're now looking at the full contract duration, and apart from your upfront cost, every other cost you incur along the way is the same between direct and resale. So hence why that difference gets kind of diluted down. It doesn't look as extreme. But of course, that upfront cost that you need to have the money for is still drastically different. Okay, so this is just breaking it down to kind of give you that annual cost and to enable just a bit more comparisons that we can maybe look at a rack room rate booking direct with Disney. So I've now just plugged in those rack room prices. They are a little bit tricky because Disney will have promotions on at different times of the year. Also, the rooms aren't available for these dates that I'm looking at, so I've had to pull them from different sources. And also, if you've got an annual pass, you'll get more discounts. Right now, there's 20% off for some resorts in September, and I've included that in these prices here because I feel like that's an accurate reflection of what you'd actually pay. If you've got an annual pass, you can get up to 35% off these dates. If you're a Florida resident, there's 30% off. So you really have to like plug in the numbers that suit your personal circumstance, but at least this gives us a little bit of an overview. And one of the ones that's most striking to me is the Grand Floridian. You can see $780 for a rack room rate, so a cash price with Disney, versus $216 for that nightly price with your DVC contract. There's more to it though, right? You need to think about whether you would ordinarily stay in a deluxe resort. Is this actually a comparative cost for you? Or would you normally stay in a value or a moderate resort? And if so, that's the comparison that you need to make. You need to compare how much you would actually pay in cash to stay at Disney versus how much you're now going to pay for this contract. You also need to think about the difference between those two transactions. A long, legally binding contract with a very heavy financial outflow, a big lump sum for that first initial bit of the price, which is the cost per point, and then your annual dues, and you are contracted and locked into that. And obviously, you know, we've seen what's happened over the last few years. Things can really get quite uncertain. Now, you have got the fallback of the resale market, but again, that can fluctuate and it's not a guarantee. So yeah, it just like bear in mind that this is such a huge financial decision and it's not something that should be taken lightly or just based on a simple comparison. Versus you go direct with Disney, you book a cash price for a hotel, you've got really favorable cancellation terms right now, they've got some good offers, and you've no legally binding contract to continue to pay Disney for the next however many years. Do you intend to stay in a deluxe resort and pay cash, or would you go for a cheaper resort or maybe only a few days on site? There's so many different options to consider, and so it really is a personal decision. But I hope that what I've done today is just help you with the tools to kind of compare the DVC contract prices and also truly understand that fully loaded price. It's not just that initial cost per point that you need to think about. You need to think about the initial cost per point. You need to think about the annual dues that you're going to have to pay, and you need to think about what are you actually going to get for your points. Okay, they're the 3 key elements. So keep those in mind. Use this spreadsheet. More than happy for you to use it. It'll be linked down below. I hope this video has been helpful. Leave any questions or video requests that you have down below. I'm really going to try and do a few more of these and make a little series out of it. And I'm more than happy to answer questions in the comments as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Have a good day. Bye.